Hi, I'm Kevin McKay from Glasgow Underground. I am a DJ, producer, record label owner, originally from Glasgow in Scotland, now based in London. As well as Glasgow Underground, I also produced the Mylo album, Destroy Rock and Roll, and a bunch of other stuff, Linus Loves, things like that. I'm at ADE and I'm here and I'm about to answer some questions for future music. So yeah, my favorite piece of software is a difficult question. I guess the thing that I use the most is Ableton, and that's the thing that I spend the most time with. So, but is it my favorite? I'm not entirely sure. It's the thing that's the most useful to me and the thing that I use the most. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with that. It's not maybe the best answer. So upcoming hardware and software. No, I mean at the moment I'm kind of getting really back into sampling. So kind of in terms of a lot of the stuff I'm doing is just stuff that complements sampling, and a lot of the tracks I make are more kind of classic house tracks, and so I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel or I'm not Mr. Modular Synthesis. I'm kind of like interested in just finding sounds that complement those things that sound good in house tracks, and those kind of sounds are all, for me, that palette's quite well defined, and so I've got a real solid bank of stuff that I really like, that I use. The most recent thing I got that I was excited about was the Lethal Audio Synth plugin. It's like a Rompler, really nice. Does similar to the Nexus, but is cheaper. So great. So this year at AD, I was late arriving because I had a flight cancelled, and then I met a bunch of Glaswegians, and so I didn't go and see anything at all last night. That was rubbish. Well, it was good. I mean, we just hung out and had a laugh, but that was cool. And so tonight I'm going to go to Stereo Productions, a record label from Spain run by Chus and Chavalos. They've got a party on tonight. I'm going to go to that after our party. And also the Mother Recordings guys, I love all their stuff. They're similar kind of record label to Glasgow Underground. So yeah, I'm going to go and check out Nehan Solo and David Keno and those kind of guys at their party too. What is going to be big in music over the next year? Another interesting question that everyone is always trying to answer. I don't know. I mean, like for me, I felt a real resurgence in proper house music. You see people like Roger Sanchez and Kerry Chandler really being feted by, the sort of the press and that kind of, maybe because there's been too much tech house recently and everything's got a little bit like, here's a big riser and here's a Hoover noise and like, oh, here's a sample from Dominator. It's all got a little bit predictable, that people are looking for that kind of more authentic, raw, live sounding house music. And, Glasgow Underground's done a lot of that, so I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. Maybe mixing up those kind of classic house and disco flavors with still a bit of the energy from tech house, because people still want to like have dance floors, excitement on the dance floors, and still have that energy, but maybe not just with, hip hop samples and Hoovers and the kind of stuff that has become to sort of typify tech house. I don't think I have learned a cool production trick for a long time. The first thing that popped into my head was literally sidechaining, but I learned that so long ago. But that was like the coolest thing when I found out what the French guys like. One of the guys who used to be on the label, Romancini, he's now sadly passed away. He was hanging out with like Thomas and Guy-Man when he made a lot, he was involved in those early sort of French, or in the early Daft Punk records. I remember him telling me about it, and I was just like, that's just the coolest trick. You can get like a kick drum to make something happen that sounds amazing on a dance floor. So yeah, that's probably it, but it was a long time ago. I think the current state of dance music's amazing. I think for me, it used to feel quite cyclical. Like when I first got into doing it, like house was popular in the 90s, late 90s, early noughties, and then things changed and bands came back and, Kaiser Chiefs and all the rest of it, and then dance music slowly got back together and got back into a kind of resurgence. And really since that resurgence of 2009, 10, it's just been there, and there's been no sign of the cycle going away, and it just feels amazing to be in this sort of place. Well, working in dance music anyway, it feels amazing to be in this place where that's just becoming more like the norm, that dance music is just there, and you know, you can think about having a career in it and keep on going as a label without worrying about the next downturn, the next thing that's going to come, and sort of, you know, like whether it was like mashups and whatever thing that came and just totally destroyed a lot of the house culture that was there, killed off a lot of artists, guys that were making tracks, making good money from selling tracks, working in shoe shops and stuff like that. I mean, that's just, you know, that doesn't seem to be happening, so it feels fantastic right now. Oh, tips for future music viewers. I think the best tip you can do is be yourself. Don't copy anyone else. Find out exactly what you love by looking into what you think, what really means something to you, and just do it. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing, because you're never going to be successful copying someone else, but you've got a chance of being successful if you do it what means the most to you. Do I use any subscription services? Like, I have tried Splice, but it never really sort of grabbed me. I just, I'm quite happy, you know, just with how I use it. I mean, I buy a lot of sample packs. I'm always interested to see what other producers are doing, and I'm always interested in trying out, you know, new things, but like rarely haven't been really inspired by any of that, I'm afraid. God, how did I get started making music? I just started as a DJ, so I moved to Glasgow to go to uni in '89, and the sub club was just around the corner from my halls of residence. I went out there clubbing, was just like, wow, what is this music? I'm a guy from a small town on the west coast, mainly listening to like the charts on the radio and stuff like that. This is like, I never heard any of this stuff. Strictly Rhythm, New Groove, all these kind of classic house labels. Got into like buying the records, then got into like making like mixtapes, got myself some gigs, and then everyone at the time who was DJing was like, you know, making tracks to try and get themselves a name, get themselves more gigs, and so started making music with a friend of mine that I was at uni with, and he had like a basic sampler, Ensoniq EPS 16 Plus. I had a Roland keyboard, a D70, pretty unfashionable at the time, not many people using them in dance music. But he had that and a little sort of, I think it was like a Soundcraft mixer or something like that, a little 12-channel mixer. And so we just started putting tracks together, and I would be the guy that was, you know, I had some musical experience, but I wasn't really great on the music front. I would be sitting there going, yeah, it needs to sound like this. Here's a David Morales remix. Where are these drums from? Can we get it to sound like this? Can we do that? And sort of slowly trying to work out how these people that I thought were amazing were making the music, and I had quite a lot of ideas about how I wanted the music to sound, like the kind of sound that I wanted to go for, a kind of deeper house sound, which was quite unusual for British producers at the time. And I seemed to have like I kept having ideas about new tracks, and so he would be like musically trying to make them happen with me, and yeah, that's how it all started. So my current studio setup is now super simple. I used to have like all the analog gear, Roland this, Jupiter that, like a bunch of like outboards, all like, you know, whatever, different types of delays and effects, and all on a desk, and then in the end I just like got fed up of how complicated everything was, and so I just now have a Mac and a set of really nice speakers. My favourite monitors are Dynaudio BM15 Actives. They don't make them anymore, but I think they sound amazing, and they're just really nice. They sound nice for creating on, and someone else always mixes my records, so my main sort of focus is just getting a sound that feels really nice when I'm making the record, so that I'm enjoying the kind of groove as if I'm kind of thinking about myself on the dance floor. And so that's it. It's just that, Ableton, and then a bunch of my favorite plugins, mostly from Korg, Arturia, like the Lethal Audio is a new one which I've just got, and then, you know, sample sounds that I've collected over the years, and then, you know, samples, and then other sample packs. People who use sample packs I think are great. Paris Saraceni, Cruising Nuremberg, you know, stuff like that. That's how I make records these days. Why Ableton Live? I started off on Cubase on an Atari, really simple, and then when you could make music with inside a computer, most of the DAWs were really glitchy, and Pro Tools was just like, I love Pro Tools, but Pro Tools was great, but it just didn't evolve. And then at one point, Ableton came along, and it was cool, but you couldn't do too much with it. And then at one point, either like Ableton 5 or 6, it was like, okay, cool, they've got warping. Wow, right, I'm into samples. Warping, that's amazing. What a great idea. How come no one else is doing this? And so I just switched over from Pro Tools to Ableton, and I was just amazed at how easy it was to pick up. Pro Tools was difficult to learn. A lot of things weren't intuitive. Logic is definitely not intuitive. And Cubase was cool, but they'd kind of lost their way. Steinberg had kind of lost their way a bit at that time. This is like 2007 maybe. And from then on in, just nothing's come along to topple it. So I'm really happy with what I'm working. There's some features that some of the DAWs have, like Cubase has got a really nice thing, like the chord suggestion thing. If you're not like particularly musical, and it can suggest chord progressions for you. A feature I really liked, but nothing's really convinced me to swap from where I am just now, because it works and I'm happy, and I don't have to, you don't have to think too much about the process, because it's kind of all automatic now. I know where everything is, and I can concentrate on I can concentrate all on the kind of creation of the track and where I want the track to go, or maybe where I want the arrangement to go. I don't have to worry about looking up, oh, how do I do this again? What do I have to do to make that happen? And because it's just it's either intuitive or I've kind of learned it and it's there. Okay, one piece of gear in my studio that I couldn't do without, I think it's got to be Ableton Live. If you take that away, I'm like, oh God, I'm back to the drawing board with something else, a new interface, and I'm struggling. I'm basically having to look on YouTube to work out how to do things. I can already feel the panic starting to go through my body at the thought of it. The latest addition to my studio is that Lethal Audio is sort of like a ROM player, synth. Yeah, it's great for especially for bass, because if you're trying to make house music bass with I get a lot of stuff in at the label, and you can tell that they've used like an Arturia plugin, and all the kind of analog modeling is great, but with modern with modern kind of production levels and how loud the records are, if you've used say you've used the Moog's a good example. It sounds great on bass, but if you use that for your bass, then the bass does move around a bit. You look at the wave and it's changing over time, and it's not changing with the BPM of the track. It's sort of got its own little thing going on, and that's fine. But you're not going to be able to get like a solid level of power where you in a club and you can feel this kick and bass thing just perfectly there, while the stuff on top's keeping you entertained. You're going to struggle to do that if you're having a synth that's trying to model analog behavior, kind of doing its own little thing, Whereas these ones, which are based more on like sample-based synths, are kind of perfect for that, because the bass doesn't change. And for house music, I think you want that kind of solid bass sound. You don't really want it to be like too crazy. I mean, unless you're doing something more kind of left field, fine. But like for really solid, powerful house tracks, that's what I think you want. The dream bit of gear for my studio, I think I'd just like to, if I had Dead Mouse's studio, fantastic. I would love to have if I had the budget and the sort of time to create something like that, where it was all, but even then I've still got to work it all. So I need Dead Mouse's studio, and I need an engineer who's there every day, so I can be like, can you help me do this now? Can you do this? Can I think about making a track, and can you just make that bit sound amazing? And here I've got this up on my VST plugin. Do you have anything, can you make something analog that sounds like this, but maybe a bit more wonky and cool? And can we, someone to bounce ideas off of? That would be it. Like an amazing studio like that, plus an engineer, that's a dream right there. When I'm starting something, I tend to try and find the hook of the track first. So what's really going to be the main focus of the track? I like classic structures. So classic, I I like dance music that corresponds to classic sort of song structures without sounding too much like a classic song, because then it starts to sound like a pop record and not a club record. But I still do like to have hook and relief from the hook, and so I'm thinking either finding the first hook or the two hooks that are going to play off each other, and then maybe I'm thinking about what the middle eight's going to be. And once I have those three things, then I'm kind of like excited to get about making the track. What am I currently working on? I am trying to finish an album that's being thwarted by people not agreeing to sample clearances. It's a bit annoying. So I'm kind of like, I was 14 tracks done. I'm now back down to like 8 tracks because I've had 6 samples knocked back, which is a bit frustrating. So I'm trying to make, you know, a lot of people don't know that they might know Glasgow Underground and they might know my new stuff because I've been recording under my own name for the past few years. Most people don't know that I was involved with Mylo, or that I produced the Linus Loves records that were in the charts, and so I wanted to make a record. You know, the Mylo record was heavily A&R'd by me, so he had all this output, and I just basically was like, this is what your album's going to sound like. But it was somebody else making the music and then me producing it, and I wanted to have my own version of that. So I'm making a record that kind of is made in that style, but with me as the kind of writer producer, rather than having someone else as the writer originator and me just, you know, making it, you know. A positive message for future music viewers. Yeah, I mean, like, music is an amazing career. If you can get yourself going in it, like, thank your lucky stars and work hard and keep going, because it's like, I've been doing it for 25 years and it's amazing. I love working in music, and one of my biggest fears is the day where my record stops selling and my label is like no longer of any interest to anyone, and I have to finally think about getting a proper job, and I never want to get to that stage. And so if you're lucky enough to do it, like, or if you're lucky enough to have the talent, or if you're lucky enough to have the desire, then do it and make the most of it, and never stop being thankful for that. Okay, I've been Kevin McKay. Thank you very much. Kevin McKay from Glasgow Underground. Thank you very much. You can check out our stuff on SoundCloud, Facebook. You can Google us. It's dead easy. So if you want to do that, then thank you.